Did you ever bake bread? Actually, I've been wanting to do so again. Not the kind you make in your bread machine, but the actual, like, knead it on the table and have fun. My mom used to do that with us, and I loved it. And so, anyway, I'm going to be doing that sometime soon. But my priest in today's homily was talking about leaven, and he brought up that verse in the Bible that said, just a little bit of leaven goes, it corrupts the whole loaf. And so I do remember if you do make bread, I haven't made it in years, so I don't remember the recipe, but it's this little tiny packet of yeast and you mix it in with the flour and stuff. And that thing grows in this huge loaf and then you bake it. So it got me thinking. I'm sure my priest was thinking bad of me because I'm in church today taking notes on my cell phone, but I was listening and it was about leaven, just a little bit of leaven. Any bit of poison that can go into something can just really spread. And it reminded me of something I had read years ago, that when the New York City, their crime was so bad, decades ago, that what they decided to do instead of going after all these big criminals, and they started arresting every single person who jumped the subway, who just skipped the ticket and got on. They also started arresting people who did the graffiti. And the rationale was, if you get them at the low levels of crime, you will stop the higher levels of crime. And it paid off. Again, I don't remember where I saw the statistics because I think I read the book itself like 15, 20 years ago. But the New York City crime dropped considerably because they were arresting people at these low levels. And that is something I think we should all take seriously, are the things that we do at these low levels that we don't think are any big deal. I think about people who want to go and some of the things that we do, low level, right? You're a married person, you're happily married, or you're dating, and you flirt with someone else. I mean, flirting is kind of fun. And many people do it. And many times the spouse thinks it's okay because they know how flirtatious you are. Deep down, those actually bothers the spouse but that little bit of flirtation, and you might defend yourself and think, it's just flirtation. I'm not cheating on you. I think about before my affair began years ago. I was happily married. Oh my goodness. We were, going to be having a child soon. And it was the guy coming to my cubicle and flirting and, whatever. And I'd tell the funny jokes. And then that led to the, talking more often, going to each other's departments. And then, you might go to lunch, get a latte, whatever. Those kind of things happen. And again, the small thing, the little flirting at your cubicle leads to the latte, leads to the lunch, leads to the bigger things. And most affairs, I will argue, because I'm an optimist, start innocently because it's that little bit of leaven that we put into the bread, and then it poisons the whole loaf. And then eventually you're in the midst of this affair, or you're on the cusp of it, and you're thinking, I never loved my spouse. We were always having problems. It twists your thinking. We've got to stay away from the leaven. Too many people are watching for the big things. You're watching for the affairs, and you're watching for the murders. You're watching for but watch for the smaller things. And that's where you need to guard yourself. That's where you need to guard your children. If you're the type of parent that's too easy on your kids, you better fix that. You need to discipline your kids with the little things, like, oh, it was just a little white lie, he told his teacher. You tell him how that little white lie can turn into a big lie, can turn into stealing and cheating and worse. All of our sins start by festering in one place, in our mind, in our hearts, the things we ponder. And then one day we're numb, like the frog boiling in the hot water. It's no big deal dipping your toe in that water that's mostly lukewarm and a little bit warmer and warmer. And it isn't until you're boiling where you're thinking, what the heck did I do? How did I get in this pot? How did I get in this situation? And you go backwards. A little bit of leaven spoils the whole loaf. Where do you put leaven in your life? Do you go and look at pictures in social media that you shouldn't look at? It's not porn, but you see someone who has a nice body and you watch it more often, or you watch movies that don't have horrible scenes, but maybe they just have profanity and you get used to it. And then you start getting used to maybe a little bit of excessive scenes. And heck, that's how Hollywood got as corrupt as they are. They didn't even have Lucy and her husband, or well, they did. Dick Van Dyke and his wife sleeping in the same bed. And then eventually Lucy and Ricky did. And then eventually they'd have, major kisses. And then they'd have laying down in the bed kissing. And then they had sheets off the shoulders. And now it's gotten to where you see everything and every movement. It's debauchery. It's horrible. It's the frog in the water. It's how Satan gets all of us. And we've got to be alert to that. I was just recently bringing up that I kind of put myself out of the boiling water. I made a decision about 4 years ago to stop watching TV, and those shows would come on and they would annoy me. But now that I don't even turn my television on, and when I say don't turn it on, it's not on all day at all, ever. I don't watch the news. I don't want to see any of the lies. I don't anymore. And so every now and then, we try to put on a YouTube video, maybe a Catholic speaker, and I found out recently that there's a 24-hour-a-day Little House on the Prairie channel, and that every single show they talk about God, almost every single show they're in church, maybe every show. No profanity, no smoking, no sex scenes. It's wonderful. And so I've been doing that for, 4 years. My mind has been getting purified of the garbage. And so I recently said, well, let's go watch a movie because my poor husband doesn't need to be inflicted on Little House on the Prairie. And I put a movie on that looked like it would be good. And there it is. Within the first 2-3 minutes of watching, it was a sex scene. And they had 4 or 5 people in the room. That's all I need to say. And I'm like, what? And then I quickly turned it off and turned something else on that I thought would be good. And within a minute or two, sex scene. A little bit of leaven has led to where we see everything. Think of modesty. Our Blessed Virgin said, and I might be messing up which apparition. I think it was Fatima, but I know it was before the 1920s. And she said that people were starting to go to hell for their styles that they were wearing. They were getting too immodest in 1920. Oh, what are they coming up to, the flapper dresses? And God was calling that too, terrible. An offense to the sin of modesty. And look where we are today. There was this meme I saw. It was hysterical, actually, but on one side, it had a picture of a bunch of women in the 1930s wearing those bathing suits that cut straight across your thighs and straight up here and completely covers everything. And then the image said, who knew that the bathing suits of the 1920s or 30s would become the homecoming dresses of today? And I recently went to my granddaughter's cheerleading banquet, and every single girl, none of them could bend over, and they all had to pull their dresses just to make sure that parts wouldn't show that shouldn't show. And it was normalized. Where did that start? Women used to be covered. And then Satan decided to move little by little. So just show the wrists. It's just a wrist. Just show your neck. It's just a neck. Well, then just drop it a little, a scoop neck. And then the V neck. And then shorten it. You're only showing the ankles. For goodness gracious, it's just ankles. And then it was calves. And then it was knees. And now it's thighs. And now you see every part of every person's body. Modesty is destroyed. I saw a video where a woman literally, and she was twisted and perverted, but she painted pants on herself and went to a gym with painted leggings on, and the men were disgusted and trying to kick her out. Filth. But it started with a little bit of leaven, and it ruins the whole loaf. Where are you putting leaven? What are you doing? It's just a little, whatever. I'm just going to read this magazine. It just, I don't know. I like it. I'm just going to watch this one show. It's not that bad, but it just makes me happy. It just helps me to escape. What about the drinks you drink? It's just a little bit of tipsy. I won't get drunk. Where are you putting leaven? Because these are areas that take us further from God. This is it. You either go closer to God or away from God. Every decision you make, closer to God, further from God. I hope this helps. Thanks, Father Charles, for your homily today. That got me thinking of this. We need to be careful to have nothing but the purest thoughts, the purest hearts. And it doesn't start with the big things. It starts with the little. So this Lent, if you haven't already decided what you're going to do, decide which leaven you're going to remove from your life. I'd like to hear what you come up with. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching another informational Bacon Bit. And remember always to live your life sunny side up.